Welcome to our lesson on the 3 ways to import data into your QuickBase application. At the end of this lesson, you will be able to define data normalization, identify the 3 file types available for import, describe the correct steps for importing from a file or the clipboard, and demonstrate understanding of table-to-table imports. In working with data, we often find ourselves with spreadsheets and spreadsheets of data that would be much more useful to us if it were in our QuickBase application. To be able to import our data from a spreadsheet or a CSV file, it is necessary for the data to be normalized. To normalize a set of data means that we will review the data for inconsistencies, data duplication, or even outright errors. As an example, let's assume this spreadsheet represents HVAC quote data we want to import into QuickBase. We can see that we have 4 rows of data. 2 of our rows belong to Belinda Jones and 2 to Marty Smith. On closer inspection, however, there are 2 minor problems that could cause major issues down the line. If we focus on the 2 rows for Belinda, at first they look very similar. The difference between the 2 appears to be a spelling error in Belinda's first name. If this were a real example, we would verify which record is correct and then delete the incorrect data from our spreadsheet. Now, we need to focus our attention to Marty Smith. His name looks to be the same, but the address is slightly different for each. If we review the rest of the data, we can see that it too is different and can assume that these are indeed 2 separate quote records. The issue then would be, what is the correct address for Marty? Once we have verified the correct address, we would update the incorrect data and continue with our review. If we are going to import data within QuickBase, we must remember to break it up into multiple spreadsheets that mirror our tables and fields within the application. We need to be sure to use some unique value, such as a number, to identify our records as we break them into our various tables. Additionally, we would include a column for record ID number on any parent table, as well as a related parent field on any spreadsheets representing a child table. These fields will be necessary later when we discuss the actual steps of uploading our data. In our example, we can see that the customer number field is being used as our unique value. If we needed to break the second set of data into more tables, which is often the case, we would also need to add a unique value field for the quotes that we could then use on the next table to identify which quote each record belongs to. Now that we have our data separated onto our tables, customers and quotes, we can use this to import our data from our Excel file. From our home dashboard, we will select the Import/Export link at the top right of our page. From this page, we can see the 3 various ways to import data on the left. For this example, we will select Import into a table from a file. We are now presented with 2 additional sections below. Pick Table and Choose File. We will use the drop-down in the Pick Table section to select the first table we wish to import into. Data always needs to be imported into the highest level first if we're importing into more than one table, so we will select our Customers table. In our Excel file, we will also have arranged the worksheets so that the Customers worksheet is the first in the workbook. Now, we will select the Choose File button below and navigate to the saved Excel, CSV, or TSV file. Once we've selected the file to upload, we will select the green Import from File button below. The next page that we are taken to will allow us to map the data to the fields in our Customers table. At the top of each column, QuickBase will provide its best guess at matching the imported data with the existing fields in the table. If a match is not found in the name, it then takes into consideration the type of data being imported and the field types in the table, but is not always 100% correct. As we can see here, this has matched our customer number to the address. We will need to update this, so we need to select Create New Field. Our record ID number is not going to be imported, so we will select Do Not Import. It looks to be that customer has been matched, and our address field is selected Do Not Import, but we know that this needs to go into the address Street 1 field. Once we have reviewed all of our field mapping, we will select Import at the far right, and QuickBase will process our data into the Customers table. Since we have selected to create a new field for the customer number field, we do receive this pop-up advising that QuickBase will create one new field in the table Customers. Once we select OK, QuickBase will complete the import process. Before we discuss how to upload subsequent data sets, let's discuss the other two methods for importing data. If we once again navigate to our home page and then select Import Export, we can select the second option for Import into a table from the clipboard. This is very helpful when you're working with smaller sets of data and you can easily copy-paste the data from an Excel file into the box we see on this page. Above the large box, we see the same Pick Table drop-down as was presented to us when importing from a file. Once we paste our data into the Paste Data box below, we will select the Import Data button and be taken to the same page that we discussed previously where we can map our fields. This process will remain the same no matter the method of importing. To discuss our final import method, we will now select Import into a table from another table. Many people overlook this feature in QuickBase, but it can be extremely helpful if you need to copy data from application A into application B, or even if you simply need to move the value of one field into another field on the same table. In the section below, we are presented with a link that will take us to the Import from Another Table process. Once we follow this link, we are presented with a page that shows all of our tables as tabs and has a button for Create a New Import. For this example, let's pretend that we want to import data from the Customers table to the Quotes table. We will select the Quotes table at the top and then select Create a New Import. From this page, we will need to first tell QuickBase where the data lives by selecting the Choose a Source Table button. A series of pop-ups will be presented in which we will need to select the application and then the table which holds the data we want to import. Now that we've selected our source, we are taken to another page that allows us to determine the type of import, any criteria required for import, and then field mapping at the bottom. Unless we wanted to update existing records with this import, we would select Copy in the import type. Matching is going to be dependent upon the business need, and field mapping allows us to let QuickBase choose or to do custom mapping and determine field by field how the source and the destination match up. Once we have made all of our selections, we will select Import to process the request. Now that we've discussed the three ways to import data, from a file, from the clipboard, and from a table, we will discuss how to import subsequent related tables, such as our quotes. When we built our spreadsheet, we made room for our own unique identifier as well as record ID number on the customer's table. When we did our upload, we made QuickBase build a new field for our customer number column. Now it's necessary to go pull that data out of QuickBase along with its matching record ID number. From the customer's dashboard, we will select the List All report from the Reports and Charts link above. If our fields are not presented in this report, we can quickly add those missing columns, and then select Save as Spreadsheet from the More drop-down menu at the top right of the page. Once our data is downloaded, we will open the spreadsheet and delete all the columns but customer number and record ID number, making sure to place record ID number to the right of customer number. We now have a listing of record ID numbers with their matching customer numbers. We will need to perform a VLOOKUP function in Excel to bring over the record ID numbers to both the customers and the quotes spreadsheets in our file, placing it in the related customer column. When this has been completed, we can now upload the quotes data using our preferred method, making sure to map related customer in QuickBase to the related customer column in our spreadsheet. We've reviewed a lot of information in this short time and have discussed 3 different ways to get data into a QuickBase application. As a QuickBase solution provider, you will need to be able to import data into QuickBase following these 3 approaches in order to provide the best service to your client and ensure they are set up for application success. This concludes our lesson on the 3 ways to import data into your QuickBase application. You should now be able to define data normalization, identify the 3 file types available for import, describe the correct steps for importing from a file or the clipboard, and demonstrate understanding of table-to-table imports.